Hello and welcome to another video on my photography channel. This one is about saving a, no pun intended, shipwreck of a photograph and making it into something that doesn't hurt your eyes. So this shot was taken on a very foggy morning on the coast of Cape Town, and you can tell it's a pretty rocky beach. Or the pretty rocky area off the beach, and it was a quick shot. I didn't focus, no pun intended. Again, I didn't really think about what I was doing, and was kind of not at my best. So this is how the shot turned out, of an otherwise pretty interesting scenery with the sun breaking through the clouds in the back and it all looking very dramatic. So yeah, this was kind of a quick shot before just at the end of an entire run of pictures that I took, and this one didn't work out as I wanted it to. So in this video, this gives me the chance to show you how you can actually save an image and make it look quite decent when you know what you do with your image editing tools. So this is the raw. This is an Aftershot Pro 3, and let's take a look at what we can do here. The obvious thing is that the horizon is off. So in Aftershot we have a very simple to use and very effective tool with the horizon adjustment option here. So just like that, pointing down the horizon, and then Aftershot just rotates the image to where it needs to be, and then we can just crop this for the first time. I'll crop it a little bit more later, but this is good enough for now. So the next one that we will have to deal with is definitely the noise. So this was shot on my Canon 7D, and first of all, it's underexposed, and second of all, it was shot at a rather high ISO, I think. Let me check the metadata. That was shot at ISO 640, and so underexposed, low light on a cropped sensor, on an APS-C sensor, generates usually quite a lot of noise, which you can see here. So let's try to get rid of that with the wavelet denoise plugin. I think I will have to ramp these up to 40, which will probably result in losing quite a bit of detail in the, lost quite a bit of detail on the ocean here. But I think we might be able to get that back with the sharpening tool later on. So the next thing I need to do is to take a look at the colors, because this image is definitely, underexposed, and quite hectically so. So I could use the exposure adjustment here, but I'd rather use the histogram for that by dragging the whites over to more to the right hand side, and then slightly adjusting the overall range towards the left and leveling the brightness and the darkness out a little bit. It's all about balance with the histogram, so that is a good start. It already looks a lot better, but it's far from where I want to have it. What I want to have is that the clouds here, the clouds get more contrast, and that the sun rays breaking through like really glow and shine to get this really cinematic, dramatic kind of image that it could be. So let's take a look at what color range we have available. For that, I just crank up saturation and vibrancy, and you can see like we have like a lot of nice orangey colors here, or potential for orange colors in the center where the sun rays are on the water, and then there's this huge bluish area where the light of the sky seeps through the clouds. And we have lens dust or a drop somewhere here. Okay, we can get rid of that. I think I get rid of that anyway when I crop it later a little bit more. Okay, so we can definitely work with that. So I want these to stand out far more. For that, I go into my plugins here and use the color equalizer and ramp up the luminosity first quite a bit to make them brighter, and then also give them vibrancy to make them really stand out and pop. That's it. We can exaggerate a lot in here, but let's check what the clipping information says. Yeah, there are a lot of areas down here. The foreground is super dark due to the underexposure, but here we're getting into the area of a potential blowout of the brighter colors. So let's see what I can do here by decreasing luminosity. That was definitely the orange part of that. I can increase the yellow luminosity a little bit more. And then let's see what happens if we increase. Yeah, that still works. Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah, that you see colors here doesn't really mean that they're already blown out. It's just a warning that you're getting close. So I know that if I increase contrast or whatever, I could push these over the edge and clip them. So let's adjust a little bit our curve here. I don't think an S curve does really do much. No. That is not that much of a difference, but hey, every little bit counts, especially in a total shipwreck like this one. And let's add some vibrancy in general to get the colors to pop even more. Did we overdo it? No, we didn't. That's okay. Yeah, the values are still okay. That's still fine. Let's see what we can do about the shadows and the highlights here. The highlights are pretty strong at the top here. That is where the clouds got a lot more sunlight than obviously in the back here and down here. So let's see what I can do with that. I can increase these and decrease these. Work a little bit more with the highlights to soften the light a little bit more. Maybe actually increase the contrast. I mean, I darken this even more now, so I'm not so happy with that. But I still want to have, without going into hand editing and using dodge and burn. I mean, I could do that, but that would take a lot of time. But let's see. I like the contrast here in the clouds already quite a bit, and with the sun rays popping out. But I'm still not convinced. Yeah, the saturation didn't really do much here. And usually the saturation is something I do not really like to use. So let's try sharpening at first and see if we can get some detail back. Yeah, that looks already a lot better. Yeah, it's still blurry. As I said, it will not be a perfect image, but it will look far, far better than the original. Okay. So with this one, let's maybe try, no, not that one. No, this will blow out the, yeah, no, that is too strong of an effect just now. If I go and work with the mid-grays a little bit, I could maybe save a few of the areas down here without destroying the contrast in the clouds here. it's always kind of a give and take between the different elements of the plugins here. I think I like the lights a little bit more at first without the grays because they pop more now. Yeah, contrast at 5 seems to be okay. If I ramp this up, I lose sadly the contrast here. I think it's time to switch into Paint Shop because there the fill light works a lot better. So I will do that now and quickly switch over to Paint Shop. Maybe crop the image. I could have cropped it in Aftershot, but I forgot, so I can crop it here in Paint Shop just as easily. Let's see. I will go with a 16:9 to make it look more cinematic. I know a lot of photographers don't like 16:9, but my philosophy is that, you know what, if it makes your image look more interesting, go with whatever format you like. Drag it a little bit here so that I usually try to have the horizon line either on the top or close to at least the top horizontal or bottom horizontal line, and I think this time the bottom horizontal could be good. First of all, the area at the bottom is dark anyway, and the more dramatic stuff is at the top, so that actually makes to me a lot of sense right now. And now the brightest area with the sun rays is exactly lining up with the vertical lines of the rule of third grid, so that actually looks quite good to me. Okay, cool. Then I'll just increase the size a little bit. That might cause a few problems, and shouldn't always do that. It depends a little bit on the image, but I actually like to do this approach because Hypershot can actually save quite a lot of that detail if you use it carefully. So we go back to sharpness, Hypersharpen, and give it a slightly more, maybe even overlay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, it hasn't exaggerated the elements too much, so I'm fine with that. What I can try now is to go and use first the fill light. Yeah, that works already a lot better. Yeah, in Aftershot this would have been much brighter now because Aftershot brightens up pretty much everything, which I don't, even if you use the fill range that it has, I don't find it very reliable. But this one is actually quite good. So let's see if we can work with the shadows, midtones, and highlights here. That looks even a bit better, I think. Let's see. Yeah. I kind of like this. Okay. You know what, let's add a little bit more vibrancy just for the fun of it. This is not supposed to be a perfect image. Without. Yeah, they're getting a bit more glowy in the back there. Let's just check if we have more noise now than I actually want to have. I mean, I'm zooming in extensively now. That is still okay, I would say. I mean, usually if you have a lot of color noise that you can't get rid of, you can actually sometimes try to go into monochrome mode, but this one lives off that glow and that golden glow in the back there, which creates this nice warm contrast to the rest of the image. And that is definitely what I want to go for. So turning this into monochrome is definitely not an option. You can actually see that in the back here. You can see lights on the other side of the bay on the coast. So that is quite nice. That came out a lot better than I expected. And now let's take a look at Instagram. No. By the way, local tone mapping, I don't know why this is still an option in image editing tools. I hate that effect every time I see it. And you see it on so many photography websites because people kind of think it looks dramatic. I just feel it looks like crap. It's like, but that's just me probably. Sorry. It's like every time I go across, it's like, oh no. So brightness and contrast, that is fine. You know what? I think this image is pretty much done. There's not much more I can do except maybe try to use the denoise. I don't think I have any dust or blurred out birds left here. That looks okay. I mean, yeah, the color noise is a little bit more prominent because I ramped up the vibrancy, and if of course you have color noise in the image, that color of that noise gets enhanced as well. So let's see what the one-step noise removal does to our image. Yikes. Okay. Yeah, of course you lose again detail. I might have to, and it did not really recognize that much of that color noise in the clouds here. And there are limits to what these tools can do, but let's see. Let's undo this. I think it works a little bit better with that one-step noise removal. Because it takes the green out of it. It now looks more reddish, like you get this kind of green tint out of the image. And wait a second, is there a halo? No, that is actually, wait, yeah. Hey. the pains of the back and forth in image editing. Yeah, this area doesn't look good. Edit, undo, color adjust. Fill light clarity, and that's okay. Yeah. You know what? I think this is it. If I add more color adjustments and even more denoise, I'll just make it look worse than it needs to be. As I said, this is not going to be a perfect image, especially the area down below here. But as you can tell, like from approaching this from this point of, okay, this is a pretty crappy image, let's see what we can do. This actually worked out quite nicely. I wish I had taken the shot more carefully, obviously, but when you compare it to the original, oops, let me get a word. This is the original image, and when you take a look at the waves here, they also don't look that well. Maybe it's even a little bit of camera shake in that, but then the horizon would look different. So the contrast is quite dramatic. Yeah, so check the saturation, adjust the horizon, get rid of the noise, try to work with sharpness, and then always look for the stuff in the image that is very prominent, that you could make stand out, what defines the image, what looks interesting, and then go with it. Kind of a gut feeling type of approach, I guess, but it usually works for me. I mean, this is something, okay, you cannot sell it, but it looks good enough for what it for how we start, for what we started out with. So good. I hope you enjoyed this one and found it interesting. Hit the like button if you did, that helps me. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit that bell button so that you get notified when another video of mine pops onto the channel and will be available for you. Always a surprise for what it might be, surprises myself, so I don't know what I'm going to do next, but let's see. Have a good day, enjoy your photography, and bye bye.